The Dragonback series by Timothy Zahn. Book 3, Dragon and Slave. Chapter 31. Jack felt his knees go suddenly weak. Fleck. Bright red sash across his chest. Slapstick at his side. Full authority of the Brumgas at his back. But he, Jack, had Dracos. A single command, and the Kadar warrior would leap out from his collar and tear Fleck into small, bloody pieces. Here, Fleck said, flipping something small toward Jack. Automatically, Jack reached out and caught it. It was a calm clip, one side colored and shaped just like a dolem scale. What's this? He asked, frowning up at Fleck again. This? Fleck shook Lisa's arm. Is a Brumgan spy. Gazin keeps them special privileges in exchange for information. He spun Lisa around and gave her a final shove that landed her on one of the benches. I've suspected her for a long time. Ask if she communicated with them, Dracos murmured in Jack's ear. Was she able to get off a message just now? Jack asked. I don't think so, Fleck said. But my guess is they already know something's up. If we're going to go, we'd better be quick. Jack blinked. We? Sure. Fleck smiled tightly, sending a look around the room. Like Jack said, he went on, raising his voice, anyone else hate this place enough to go with us? It's a trick, someone growled. Fleck's one of them too. None of the rest of us carry weapons, someone else added pointedly. Fleck didn't even bother to glance that direction. He started toward Jack, the crowd melting away in front of him. And as he got within arm's length, he drew his slapstick. Jack tensed, but Fleck merely turned the weapon around and handed it to him, handle first. I'm willing to take a chance, the big man said, looking around the room again. How about you? For a moment, the room was silent. Then in twos and threes, the slaves began murmuring quietly among themselves. If this is a trick, Jack said quietly to Fleck, I'll make it my business to be sure you're the first one in the Brumgas line of fire. That's no trick, Fleck said just as quietly. Strange things have been happening around here lately. Odd footprints in the dirt. Odd activity by the Brumgas at night. Someone carefully cutting their way through the thorn hedge. He must have seen something in Jack's face because he smiled suddenly. Oh, yes, I knew about that. The Brumgas tried to keep it quiet, but I knew. He nodded fractionally to the side. And now we've got Noy coming back from an isolation hut with stories about a gold dragon. What do you think it all means? Jack asked, keeping his voice even. Maybe it's nothing but wishful thinking, Fleck said bluntly. Maybe you're just a con man playing on old legends and gullible types like Muskrat who find omens in everything they see or hear. Maybe all you're doing is trying to turn us into a distraction so you can sneak out alone. He paused, his eyes steady on Jack. I came back to get Noy, Jack told him. I just thought some of the rest of you would like to get out too. Fleck snorted under his breath. And maybe you're such a good con man that you can sound as honest as you're sounding right now. Jack felt a stirring of anger. Here he was, risking his own life and freedom for these people, living up to the Kadar warrior ethic that Dracos was always prattling on about. And all Fleck could think about was that it might be a con. Look, Fleck. Fleck stopped him with an upraised hand. All I know is two things, he said. One, that none of this strange stuff happened until you showed up. And two, he looked at Noy. There's no way that kid came up with that poem on his own. No way. Something big is going on, and I'm willing to take a chance on it. His eyes drilled into Jack's face. Just remember one thing. I'm the one responsible for these people. It's my job to keep them in line so that the Brumgas will stay off their backs. If you're spouting smoke, you understand me? Jack swallowed. Perfectly. Jack, may I have a word with you? Dracos murmured in his ear. Jack took a deep breath. I'm going to take a quick look outside, he told Flick. Be right back. He could see the slaves' eyes following him as he made his way to the door. Maybe they were wondering if he was giving up on them and was heading out on his own. Good. A little pressure might help them make up their minds. He'd half expected to find a ring of armed Brumgas waiting outside, but the night was quiet. I know what you're thinking, he told Dracos before the dragon could say anything. I suppose it is stupid to trust Fleck, but as near as I can read him, he seems okay. I agree, Draco said calmly. There is no reason for him to have stopped Lisa if he was on the Brumga's side. Unless it's a setup, Jack said as the thought suddenly struck him. Maybe Lisa never was a spy. No, Draco said. I had not thought of it before, but when she came to the frying pan to offer you food, I did not smell any paint on her. Yet she implied her thumbleness had brought her into the house for that purpose. Right, Jack said, nodding. Now that Dracos mentioned it, he hadn't smelled anything either. So she was a spy. Good. What did you want to talk to me about? I merely wondered if you had considered the extra problems involved in bringing such a large group of slaves with us, the dragon said. Jack looked sideways down into his collar. I thought you were the one who hated slavery so much. I did not say I did not approve, Draco said a little huffily. I merely asked if you had considered the problems. Behind Jack, the meal hall door opened. Jack turned to see Fleck come out, a small group of slaves behind him. All set, Fleck said. This is it. Jack felt his throat tighten. Of the 150 slaves inside, no more than 20 had elected to come. This is it? Life inside the wall is a known, Fleck said grimly. Life outside is an unknown. What can I say? Even when what they know is slavery? This is the group, Fleck said. Take it or leave it. Jack looked them over. Muskrat, the Parapin, was there, he saw. So were Marilyn and Noy and even Greb and Grib. His mind flashed back to Marilyn's comment that first night in the slaves' quarters, that the Jantry twins, who had never known any life besides slavery, were quite happy under Chakuk family rule. And yet, here they were. One of Uncle Virgil's favorite sayings ran through the back of his mind. Unless you become like a little child, you cannot enter the kingdom of heaven. Of course, Uncle Virgil had generally used the line in regard to some job where Jack was supposed to con his way into a particularly well-stocked vault somewhere. But it applied even better here. We take it, of course, he said. Good, Fleck said. What's the plan? Diversion, Dracos murmured in his ear. Glider! Jack frowned. He dearly wished Dracos would stop throwing these short, cryptic messages at him. First things first, he said. Do I understand we have a glider available? Flick blinked in surprise. You know about that? Of course, Jack said, trying to sound casual. It must be something Dracos had found on one of his nighttime walks. The question is, how do you know about it? Fleck's lip twitched. I was the one who helped Noy's parents build it. Unfortunately, they got caught before they could use it to take him out. Not so, unfortunately, Jack told him. If they had, all three of them would be dead. The wall has lasers and flame jets aiming upwards to stop anyone who tries to get in or out. I didn't know that, Fleck said in a low voice. So I guess that's it for the glider. Not necessarily, Jack said. An idea was taking shape in the back of his mind as Dracos's cryptic comment started to make sense. Do we know how many armed Brumgas they've got in the estate? Fleck shrugged. I'd guess 60 or 70. Vehicles? A couple dozen of those open-topped cars, Fleck said. There are also 6 small air fighters, Clack 7 patrol planes, 6-seaters. Those are probably armed. And we're in business, Jack said. How long will it take to get the glider ready to fly? It's mostly ready now, Fleck said. I just need to wind up the launcher and fire it off. And it'll go over the wall? Fleck grimaced. Halfway over, anyway. That's all we need, Jack assured him. How many people will it take to get it going? Fleck was eyeing him closely. I can do it myself, he said. Okay, Jack said. That's your job then. He gestured over his shoulder. The rest of us are going to go through the thorn hedge and head for the front of the house. There's some transports there, big ones that can get us off planet. We'll borrow one and take it right through the gate. Who's going to fly it? Someone asked. I will, Jack said.
How are we to get through the hedge?
Marilyn asked. Yeah, Muskrat agreed. They watch that gap. There's another opening we can use about 100 yards east of the road, Jack told him. Once you fire off the glider, Fleck, you head there and catch up with us.
What about the guards?
Noy asked. Most of them should charge off to see who was trying to get over the wall, Jack said. We'll just have to take care of whoever's left by ourselves.
With what? That?
Someone asked, pointing to the slapstick Fleck had given Jack. Jack smiled. Hardly, he said. I've got a friend already on it. There was a moment of awkward silence. A friend? Someone asked pointedly. Trust me, he's more than able to deal with the Brumgas, Jack assured him, grimacing to himself. Trust me, he'd said. Only these weren't fellow conmen he was trying to talk into helping on some scheme. These were slaves who'd seen every other escape attempt ruthlessly crushed by their Brumgan masters. There was another moment of silence.
Well, then, we'd better get going,
Fleck said with a hearty confidence Jack could tell he didn't entirely feel.
You have any other instructions?
Jack took a deep breath. You've got 5 minutes to gather whatever you want to take with you, he said, pointing toward the sleeping quarters. Fleck, give us... He paused, doing a quick estimate. Give us 20 minutes before you fire off the glider. Can you do that? Fleck nodded.
Sure!
And really hustle on your way back, Jack warned. Once we start our play, we may not be able to slow it down. Okay, everyone go get your stuff. The group scattered, the slaves hurrying toward the 2 sleeping huts. Good luck, Jack said, nodding to Fleck.
See you soon,
Fleck said. Giving Jack one last measuring look, he turned and headed the opposite way into the forest.
What now?
Dracos murmured. First job is to get through the hedge, Jack told him, heading toward a wide tree 20 yards from the light pouring out of the huts. Think you can finish the hole you were working on?
No problem.
Gazin may still have guards watching it, Jack pointed out. You'll have to deal with them.
As I said, no problem,
the dragon repeated.
And then...
I'm afraid you're going to get the heavy end on this one, buddy, Jack said. Reaching the wide tree, he slid halfway around it, putting his right sleeve out of sight from the slave areas. You're going to have to clear the path for us through whatever guard post the Brumgas have out there. And you're going to have to do it without letting any of our group spot you. I know that's a lot to ask.
You have not yet truly seen what a Kadar warrior can do, Jack,
Draco said.
Where shall I meet you when I am finished? At the mercenary transports?
Right, Jack said, his throat suddenly feeling dry. The grim confidence in the dragon's voice was just a little scary. I'll pick the best armored one and set it to ram the gate. We'll take the next best armored one to ride out in.
You will need to alert Uncle Verge that we are coming.
Jack nodded. I'll call him as soon as you're on your way. Any questions?
None.
With a flicker of weight, Draco slid out of Jack's sleeve.
I will see you there.
Good luck, Jack called softly as the dragon bounded off into the night.
Warrior's luck,
Draco's corrected over his shoulder. He disappeared behind a strand of rainbow berry bushes and was gone. Glancing once more around him, Jack lifted his left foot and pried back the sole. Uncle Verge, he thought darkly, was going to just love this.